and there's only one team to start with here. That is Birmingham City. We expected them to be busy this summer, and they've really got going this past week. They've completed 5 moves since we spoke last week, Justin. One of them is Demarai Gray, which we've touched on previously. We knew that was happening. But they've also got in midfielder Tommy Doyle on loan from Wolves. Right back, Brighter Samuel on a free transfer from Fenerbahce. Midfielder Kanya Fujimoto from Portuguese side Zilvi Vicenta. And former Celtic striker Kyogo Furuhashi in a deal reported to be worth up to £10 million from Rennes. A statement week for Birmingham City, Justin.
It really has been. It really has been. I know I did criticise Demarai Gray, but on the face of it, it's a good signing. It's a good squad player. But there are certain players here that I'm very excited about. Kyogo Furuhashi, for example, is a standout. 85 goals in 165 games for Celtic. Yes, I know it's the SPL. I get it. Blah blah blah. But yeah, he's a goal scorer. He got 49 and 111 for Vissel Kobe in Japan as well. So he's a good goal scorer. Gone wrong at Rennes. Don't really know why, but there's clearly a good player. And Chris Davis worked with him at Celtic as well when Chris Davis was working under Ange Postecoglou. So yeah, Furuhashi's a big one. But Tommy Doyle, blimey, that is a big signing, massive signing. He's a fantastic all-round midfielder, brilliant player. And I think that's the statement one here as well. A really, really good Championship player, probably should still be playing Premier League football, not quite developed the way I think many would have expected him to at Wolves, but a top signing nonetheless.
Yeah, this for me is Birmingham showing that they mean business. This is them saying they're going for back-to-back promotions this coming season. Demarai Gray, I've already said, I think is a great signing. Tommy Doyle, such a brilliant player. For any team in the Championship, that is a top move. He's a Premier League quality player in my eyes. I don't really understand why Wolves haven't given him more of a go. Asai Samuel was Fenerbahce's right back. First choice right back last season. And then Kyogo Furuhashi is a big signing, scoring goals for fun at Celtic, as you were saying, Justin. Again, yes, I know it's Scotland, but to score goals as consistently as he did over 3.5 years is very impressive. Scored a few goals in the Champions League as well. And he was being linked with Man City only a year ago. So do not underestimate him. Admittedly, I don't know much about Kanya Fujimoto, but his underlying data looks pretty good over in Portugal. So a very impressive set of signings from Birmingham. And I think the big thing for me is it's not just about improving the starting 11, but also massively improving squad depth. They're getting to the stage now where they've got a similar number of players available to them as a side relegated from the Premier League, let alone a newly promoted side from League One. So that's why Birmingham, you've got to be impressed by the past week that they've done.
Well, this is it, isn't it? They are not only improving that starting 11 that they've got, but they're also creating a very good squad.
They've got 2 right backs now in Asai Samuel and Ethan Laird, who I think would be right backs at just about every other Championship club. It's insane for that to be a newly promoted side.
Yeah, I mean, we were big fans of Ethan Laird, and he was very good in the season that even Birmingham went down. And he's a very accomplished right back at Championship level. I say Samuel, not seen a lot of him because he's been out in Turkey, but he offers versatility and depth on that right-hand side. So there's so many good components. And again, you've got a player in Furuhashi who, a very good poacher, great mover off the ball. How's he going to fit in with Jay Stansfield? But when you've got, players like Jay Stansfield, Furuhashi, Lyndon Dykes, in amongst your forward line, it's a very good problem to have. So yeah, this is you say it's a statement week. This is Birmingham flexing their muscles in front of the entire Championship, which is, I think, that sort of mid-table pondering for me is like, why these signings? You sign a striker for £10 million who's 29. You're not going for top half. You fancy promotion again.
I did say this to you, Justin. We expected.
But I didn't expect them to spend £10 million on a player.
I'm not surprised because we heard that they were going to be spending big this coming summer, and
That's
they're now
really big.
doing that. And Tommy Doyle, I can't praise that signing enough. In particular, I think that one, Furuhashi's going to steal all the headlines from the past week, but Tommy Doyle is an exceptional move for any Championship side. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all comes together and what the team is looking like on the first day of the season. But yeah, this is looking like a very, very strong squad, no matter what division they were in the season before. So yeah, really, really exciting stuff for Birmingham City. Sheffield United have lost one of their key men from last season in the form of Vini Souza. The Brazilian midfielder has joined Wolfsburg in a deal believed to be around £13 million. He then mistakenly said, "I love you, Sheffield Wednesday," in his goodbye post on Twitter. It's an easy mistake, Justin, but a big blow for Sheffield United, isn't it, Justin?
Did he leave on Wednesday? Did he officially leave on a Wednesday? Maybe it was, "I love you,
No,
Sheffield."
we would have included it last week if it was on a Wednesday, but
Yeah.
it's just an easy mistake to make, Justin.
Yeah, it is. And you're all right. It is a big blow. He was one of the top performing midfielders last season in Championship and probably would have made our second tier team of the season had it not been for injury. He played 35 games. Just a couple of players marginally ahead of him. Really good redemption story as well at Bramall Lane because he failed to impress when he initially came in, but last season he was tremendous. In that 4-2-3-1 that Wilder put out, he was bulldozing teams and doing it with an elegance. There was a bit of skill he did in the playoff final as well, which I remember weirdly. Like just a lovely. I can't quite describe it, but there was a lovely sort of when you describe ball winning midfielders, you don't think of the elegance that he brings and that lovely bit of skill. I think in a high pressured situation, just summed him up perfectly. He released a lot of creativity around him. So it's a big blow, £13 million as well. Quite a low sum for a player of his quality, but yeah, fair play to him, and Blades get to reinvest that hopefully.
Yeah, I thought £13 million was a bit on the low side. I would have expected them to get more than that for him, but he was the backbone of the Sheffield United team, and replacing him is going to be very difficult. So, I mean, it was always going to be very unlikely that he stayed, but now that he's gone, it's going to be really, really tricky to replace him. So hopefully they've got their AI ready to find the best replacement for him. I asked ChatGPT, Justin, who they should sign to replace Vini Souza. They said Joe Rothwell, who's already signed for Rangers, not even the same kind of player either. Tommy Doyle, gone to Birmingham, as we've just said. Yep. Hamza Chowdhury was the other one it suggested, which makes more sense, but I'm not sure if that was just because he was there last season. So either way, AI is fraudulent. Sheffield United have seen a player come the other way, though. They've got in centre-back Tyler Bindon from Nottingham Forest on loan. The 20-year-old was nominated for League One Player of the Season after playing nearly every game for Reading last season. Pretty widely accepted that Sheffield United have to strengthen that centre-back this summer, Justin. Is Tyler Bindon the man for that?
Is he? He's had a wonderfully unique career because he came through the academy at LAFC. And no disrespect to South Yorkshire, but he's now playing in South Yorkshire. Los Angeles, very nice. South Yorkshire, very different. But yeah, he moved to Crisis Club Reading in 2023. He's comfortable building from the back, prefers ball players in front of him, and I think Vini Souza I expect Vini Souza to be replaced, but he needs good ball players in front of him to progress through. He's a strong defender, but he does lack a bit of pace. That being said, Ruben Sellers knows him from his time at Reading, so it's just a case of can he adapt to the Championship?
Yeah, he looks a very talented player. Reading fans loved him, and Ruben Sellers is clearly a big fan of him if he wanted to work with him again. It's a big step up from playoff chasing League One side to promotion chasing Championship side, especially at 20 years old.
Yeah,
but
massive.
Sheffield United wouldn't sign him if they didn't think he was capable of making that step up. So, yeah, interested to see how he gets on. Southampton have made their second signing of the summer, US international Damien Downs. He's believed to have cost around £7 million. The 21-year-old striker scored 10 goals last season in the German second tier for Cologne. A big move for Saints, Justin.
Yeah, big move. He's a big player. He's 6'4". He's a bit of a unit. Weirdly, one of my jobs, my day jobs, is to track some of the US players in Europe, and Damien Downs was very much one of big interest to the US crowd. Very physical forward. Still needs refining, but I think it's a good signing. Weirdly, the market for strikers, as we're probably going to talk about over the next couple of moments, market for strikers is massive. A lot of clubs are putting down a lot of money for players. And I think Damien Downs is a good option for Southampton because he offers that physical option that I think the likes of Cameron Archer doesn't have. Ben Brereton is very different, etc. So, yeah, I think it's a very tidy signing. Still needs refining, but as I say, I think he's got all the physical components to adapt to the Championship.
Yeah, 6'4", definitely has. Yeah, I don't know much about him. I don't know much about the next few strikers we're going to be mentioning in the next few minutes of the show, but we'll give our best take on him. But yeah, he's a USA international, was Cologne's first choice striker as they won the German second tier last season. 10 goals isn't a mind-blowing tally, but they clearly think he's one for the long term at 21 years old. One thing I can say is Southampton are looking seriously stacked with forwards now, aren't they? You've got Damien Downs, Cameron Archer, Adam Armstrong, although he might be leaving, Ross Stewart, Ben Brereton Diaz, probably a couple of others I haven't even mentioned there, but they've definitely got a fair few options, haven't they, Justin?
Yeah, some really good attacking options, and I think Damien Downs does complement it. I know you mentioned his goal record, but again, he can be one of those strikers that gets more out of the players around him, and if you've got the likes of Adam Armstrong, Ben Brereton Diaz, Cameron Archer, very capable players of scoring goals at Championship level, and Ross Stewart, then you're in a good place. You're in a very good place. It's just whether or not, again, he can adapt quickly. But again, he's been playing in the German leagues, which is as close to Championship football as you can possibly get.
Yeah, Southampton's recruitment over the past few years has been very data-led, and he's clearly stood out in that regard. So, an intriguing one. Yes, and definitely better than AI, I think. The only other things I've noted down are that Downs apparently didn't start playing football until the age of 9. Which is pretty good going, that he's now a professional footballer, 12 years later.
I didn't start playing until I was 10.
Well, there you go. Did you really?
Yeah, I didn't start playing properly until I was about 10,
Yeah, how about that? And also, Damien Downs is an excellent name for a wrestler. Don't know if you've got anything to say about that, Justin?
Not really, no. He's a big guy, so he can adapt to...
Norwich City have spent a reported £7 million to sign Denmark international Matthias Kvistgaarden. The 23-year-old striker joins on a 4-year deal from Brøndby, where he scored 23 goals in 38 appearances last season. People who watch Danish football a lot more than me are very excited about this move, Justin. How excited are you?
I always try and sign him on FM, so quite excited, but I'm always priced out. And I'm definitely not going to get him now he's joined a new club. I think it's a shrewd signing. 23 goals and 7 assists for Brøndby. It's a good standard of league. We've seen a lot of Championship clubs dip into Scandinavia recently. Reading up about him, he's a good all-round attacker. He's not massively tall, but he wins a decent amount of headers. So again, it gives a lot of variation to that attack. Is he a replacement for Josh Sargent, shall I speculate? Or Josh Sargent play off him? Who knows? But there's a good option, and there's clearly a lot of goal potential in this forward line now for Norwich.
Yeah, I've seen a compilation of his goals from last season. Almost every single one is the same. Him getting on the end of a low cross, but got to be in the right place at the right time, haven't you? So, and 23 goals last season is a huge tally. Yes, it's the Danish league, but 23 goals is still very impressive for a young lad. And from what I've read about him, he's very hardworking, very quick. His shot conversion data is very good. He's been linked with a lot of big clubs, Eintracht Frankfurt, RB Leipzig. It's going to be a big ask replacing Josh Sargent, which I assume is what he's going to be doing, but they clearly think he's the best man to do it. My only concern is Norwich's signing record under the sporting director Ben Napper has been very poor so far, but hopefully this guy can be the start of him turning that record around. The bottom line is it's a very exciting move. But we haven't really spoken too much about Norwich yet, Justin, even though they have been the joint busiest club in the Championship so far this summer. You have got Boyas Sainz, who's going to Porto. Josh Sargent, as I say, expected to leave, which are obviously huge blows. But you've got signings like Kvistgaarden, Harry Darling, a couple of others who we don't really know, but Liam Manning's managing them. They've got a lot of players who could step up this season. Do you think they might be a dark horse?
I think dark horse is underselling it, of course. I think they're a contender for top 6, just purely on the money they're spending. When you spend as much money that Norwich are putting out, then the pressure that comes with it, yes, they have to become a contender for playoffs at the very, very least. So I think, to call them a dark horse, I think is pretty, underselling it. So I would put them in the category of they've got to be pushing for top 6. They have to be.
Well, it's easily forgotten that Norwich spent around £30 million last season, and as I've said previously, none of these new signings have really done anything of note so far. But if they suddenly click, namely Ante Cernak and Matai Jurasek, then it could be a real force to be reckoned with, especially if Matthias Kvistgaarden hits the ground running. And of course, they've got plenty of proven championship quality like Harry Darling, Marcelino Nunes, Jack Stacey, and what have you. Liam Manning's an incredible get for Norwich, as I've said already. So, yeah, they've got a very wide range of places they could realistically finish next season for me. Probably wider than any other team in the league, but all being well, they should be competing near the top of the division. West Brom have signed striker Auna Hegebo for a reported fee of just under £5 million. The 23-year-old comes from Norwegian side SK Brann, where he scored 7 goals in 13 appearances this season. His nickname is the Hulk. Are you looking forward to seeing the Hulk in action, Justin?
Yes, because he's called the Hulk, but clearly you are, you big fucking nerd. Yeah, Marvel. Yeah, come on. Look, like I said, if anyone's called the Hulk, yes, I am excited to seeing them play. You've only got to look at the previous Hulk that played professional football having a very good left foot. Now,
oh, you mean actual Hulk?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not his birth name, is it?
Yeah. I know what you mean, but you mean the one who played for Porto?
Yes,
that Hulk.
Yeah. The only other Hulk to exist in professional football.
Okay. Fine.
So yeah, I am interested. I know. Again, reading about him, he's a bit of everything in a forward, which is interesting because they've obviously got Daryl Dike. He's coming back, and again, I think I would consider him a bit of everything as well as a forward player. And what I mean by that is, Hegebo's neither strong in the air, but he's strong in the air, but he's not very tall. He's physically able to work around and protect the ball as well and bring others into play. He pretty rarely loses the ball, etc. He's very good at coming deep as well. So as I say, he's a bit of everything. So there's a good range of forwards now with DK, Masha, and Hegebo at the Hawthorns.
Yeah, hopefully he's going to be incredible, Justin. But again, like Kvistgaarden, I need to stop saying his name. The more I say it, it sounds like I'm saying Fistgarden, which is dodgy territory. But yeah, Hegebo, I don't know an awful lot about him from what I've read. Very good in the air, which is unsurprising for someone nicknamed the Hulk. I struggle to find as much justifying the fee for him as I did Kvistgaarden. That's not to say he won't be as good or even better than him, because I don't know much about him. West Brom signed Torbjorn Hegem from Scandinavia last year. He's been immense, so they appear to know this market very well. Very interested to see how he gets on. By the way, have you seen West Brom's Irish winger Mikey Johnston has been attracting interest from Flamengo in Brazil? The move looks like it's off now, apparently because of a negative reaction from Flamengo fans. But he was reportedly going to be going for £5 million if it happened, which would have been a very strange turn of events, wouldn't it, Justin?
To make a profit on a player who, to be honest, didn't do anything last season. Or he didn't deliver what he should have delivered last season. I think would have been incredible business for West Brom. I do feel for Mikey Johnson because this was a chance. It feels like a once in a lifetime opportunity to go and play in Brazil. Having watched the Club World Cup as well, I really want to watch Brazilian football, let alone play in it. So yeah, I do feel for old Mikey. Weird move, but Brazilian clubs dipping into the UK market apparently because Josh Windass obviously linked with Santos last season. Johnston to Flamengo this season. Who's next? Yeah.
You had Jamal Lewis last year as well, didn't you? Going to Sao Paulo, I think. Yeah, so it's interesting seeing that link come about all of a sudden, but yeah, sad one for him. Derby looks set to complete a big money move this week for striker Patrick Agyemang. Give Me Sport say they've agreed a £5 million deal with MLS side Charlotte FC for the 44-year-old. He played for Preston and QPR in the mid-2000s, and everyone thought he had retired in 2015, so a bit surprising to see Derby spend £5 million on him, Justin. What do you mean? It's a different guy. Who knew that? But yeah, it's a 24-year-old lad with the same name who's playing in the MLS. He's been starting ahead of Josh Sargent, Hadji Wright, and the aforementioned Damian Downs for the US men's national team at the Gold Cup this past summer. So Mauricio Pochettino clearly likes him, Justin, and some big business for the Rams.
Yeah, Patrick Agyemang's parents clearly big fans of English football. naming him after the great QPR impression striker,
yes,
as we know. I know a fair bit about him. I've worked a lot with Americans, so I cover a lot of the US national team. He is held in high regard in the sense that he gets a lot out of the players around him. I've seen a lot of clips circling around of Tim Howard and Clint Dempsey praising him. Not a natural finisher, so I'm a tad sceptical on that. So I wouldn't want to pay the rumoured fee on him from that point of view. But if he's a player who's going to get more out of the players around him, firstly, he needs players around him. That's what Derby need to recruit for next. But he's a late bloomer. And he's a player sort of coming into a really good vein of form, and obviously I think a move to Europe in some sense was the next step for him. So if he can achieve what Haji Wright's achieved, for example, and Josh Sargent, then it's a very exciting move.
Yeah, well, the recurring theme that I see with him whenever I've read about him is that physically he's a monster, 6'4", really strong, really quick for a man of his size.
Yeah.
And the other thing I've seen people say is that in front of goal, he leaves a lot to be desired. However, the underlying data says his finishing's not that bad. It's actually pretty good. So I don't know if he's just missed a couple of big chances here or there. I don't know. But he's another one who's been linked with a lot of clubs across Europe, including Ipswich. So for Derby to get him is pretty impressive. As I say, he's starting ahead of Haji Wright and Josh Sargent for the US national team, so Pochettino rates him. And therefore, for Derby to go out and get him, spending a lot of money by their standards post-Mel Morris, very exciting. The thing for me is him and Carlton Morris are going to be such a handful for defenders next season. So whether he scores a hatful of goals or not, I'm sure he's going to be a lot of fun watching him up front playing for Derby next season. Stoke have completed a double signing this week. They brought in Ukrainian defender Maxim Talavirov for around £2 million. He was at Plymouth in the second half of last season, as well as 20-year-old striker Divin Mubama on loan from Man City. Don't know much about Mubama, but Talavirov was a good player for Plymouth, wasn't he?
Giant defenders back at Stoke, you say, Ryan? Oh, the Pulish years are back. Come on. He's a guy who loves defending. He left a big impression at Plymouth in just 6 months. Obviously coming from Austria. He celebrated tackles, he celebrated blocks, headers, and he can deliver in big moments. I think this is a great signing. I really, really do. I think it's a smart signing. To back up another smart signing of Silver Thomas. Very shrewd, very, very shrewd. Divin Mubama is a good all-round number 9 as well. Scored a lot at youth level. So again, whether or not he's capable of making a step up to first team football is another question, but he has a different dimension there. But Talavirov, whoa, I love it. Just a big guy in a Stoke shirt again.
Yeah, well, Plymouth looks a lot better when he came into the team. I think it's still quite hard to properly judge what level he's at, because it's always quite difficult to judge that kind of player playing for someone who is as poor as Plymouth were last season. But £2 million looks like solid business. Mubama's not played many games in senior football, but seems pretty highly rated at Man City, so I'll be interested to see how he gets on. Don't really have much else to say on those two. Swansea have got a midfielder, Ethan Galbraith, for a fee reported to be around £1.5 million. The 24-year-old has been attracting a lot of interest from Championship clubs, but it's the Swans who've won the race for his signature. Do you like this one, Justin?
I do. I really do. He's one of League One's standout performers last season. Really good driving force for Leyton Orient. He's played. He played in central midfield in the first half of last season, and he played it right back in the second half. So his versatility will be very, very useful for Swansea. Probably does pose a question where he's going to fit in for the Swans next season.
Apparently, Justin, it's going to be midfield. Swansea very much see him as a midfielder, even though he spent more. I think he played more games at right back for Leyton Orient last season than at midfield. But that's how Swansea see him anyway. But
like I said, he excelled in both positions, so it doesn't really matter. And you have that versatility as well. I think it's a positive thing, and a really good signing. I think Swansea have done some good business so far this summer.
Yeah, very good passer of the ball as well. We did have a Swansea fan message us on Twitter saying, "Why haven't you talked about Swansea in a while? We're winning the window at the moment," which I think is a rather large exaggeration, but they have done some good business, and Galbraith is possibly the highlight of that so far. He's probably a replacement for Matt Grimes, actually, who they haven't really got around to replacing since he left for Coventry in January. But Galbraith and Franco in midfield, That's a very tasty midfield pairing for me. And finally, it seems as if Nathan Jones is trying to get the band back together down at Charlton. It comes after they signed defenders Amari Bell and Reece Burke, who of course both worked with Jones at Luton. They've also signed Thomas Kaminski, who Jones didn't work with at Luton, but was at Kenilworth Road. Just signing any old Luton player, Justin. They may as well get Steve Howard and Curtis Davis while they're at it.
Oh, I would love that. I'd absolutely love that. Look, I think with Charlton, with their budget being smaller than the rest, I think Nathan Jones going for players that he knows works very well. And I'm usually not a big fan of that sort of transfer, i.e. managers signing players they just worked with in the past. But Nathan Jones has this, and we've seen it, has this uncanny habit of getting way more out of players than should be expected. A lot of his work turned Amari Bell into a Premier League defender. Who would have foreseen that when Amari Bell was released by Blackburn before he moved to Luton, for example. Similarly with Reece Burke. They're good signings, they're experienced players, they've got a lot of experience in Championship football, and they know what Nathan Jones wants. I think Charlton, and again, I'm not predicting anything, but having a very good transfer window, making some really smart signings, I'm liking them. I really am.
No, I am as well. I think Amari Bell in particular is a really good signing. I think he's a very underrated defender. And I mean, these two, both Bell and Burke, Bell played 21 games in the Premier League with Luton a couple of years ago. Burke played 22. So for them to get both of them, Charlton as a newly promoted side, is really good business. I said the same things about Thomas Kaminski, actually. I also said this. Anyone who was at Luton last season, I'm willing to just strike a line through how crap they were last season, because everyone was crap at Luton last season. But Bell and Burke, the two Bs, I think that's two very smart signings from Charlton. So yeah, I agree with you, Justin. I think they are doing some very, very savvy bits of business so far, and they've still got a lot more to do, particularly in forward areas, I think. But so far, I'm liking what Charlton are doing.